Lots of dedication went into the dress that I'm going to show you today. It's made out of denim. It's a shirt dress, but it can also be a shirt. Lots of classic features, a project to really enjoy. I sure enjoyed mine. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and I have an amazing shirt dress to share with you. Don't worry, there are other options if a shirt dress is not your thing. Most of the features are the same whether you're doing the dress or the shirt, but I have to say doing the shirt would take you a little bit less time. A shirt dress is always in my books. I always enjoy them. And this time what I've made is something totally different that has never ever existed in my wardrobe. And I'm talking about a denim shirt dress with long sleeves. Now the pattern that I'm talking about is called Bluegrass. It's a brand new release from Love Notions. I've been sort of hinting about it, and if you saw yesterday's episode, I showed you a 2-second photo, and I'm super proud of my make. Now, as I said, this can be a shirt dress or a shirt. The main features are all there. Collar stand and collar, traditional, very nice. A button placket that is separate, you interface it and you sew it on and you fold it to the inside. It's like a facing. That's the same for the shirt or the shirt dress. You have princess seams in the front and the back. That is the same. And then the sleeves are long. Tower placket, cuff, little dots here on the bottom of the sleeve. You can also make it sleeveless and finish it with binding. Whether you're making the shirt or the shirt dress, you can have patch pockets here. They are optional, of course. Little flaps, very nice. I did use these features in my shirt dress. I basically used all the features. Now, one feature that is different to other patterns that you've seen are the shape of the yokes. You can sew a simple one with no yoke. That's how I've done my dress, but you can sew 2 yoke options. One that is more traditional, it's got like a V point here and at the back, and the other one has even more shapes. You can see them at the liner, with the liner there. The way that you sew them is very different to what you're expecting. If you're thinking it's going to be hard, be prepared to realize that it's really not. Now, the differences come here with the dress is that on the pattern piece for the shirt, you have a separate cut line. So you cut there and then that becomes a bodice. And then you have a separate skirt. This skirt is A-lined. It's got these really cool pockets with these angles, very nice, love those. And those pockets match exactly the princess seams coming from the bodice. On the back, the skirt has waist studs that also match the princess seams coming from the bodice. So it's really nice. It's at the knee, at least for me, so that's going to vary for your height. You can also make a sash. The pattern is there if you want it. You know, lots of people like wearing sashes with shirt dresses. In this case, I left it with no sash because the Bluegrass shirt and shirt dress is a brand new pattern at Love Notions. It's going to have a nice discount for the first week. The release sale runs through next Thursday, the 15th of May, so make sure you grab it when the price is a little lower. I'll leave you my affiliate link in the top of the comment section, easy to find, pinned, also in the description box. If you use my link, it'll take you straight there. You don't pay anything extra, but I do receive a small commission back from the designer. One way that you can support my work here on YouTube. Remember, I have a discount code that you can find more information about in those same places as well. As you know, the big sale is still running at Love Notions, 45% off if you use my ambassador code. Of course, the Bluegrass is not going to be 45% off. It's a new pattern release. It'll be a smaller discount, but it'll be around 26% off, which is still really nice. Once the sale is over, you can still get the 10% off extra using my code as usual. Structured woven fabrics would work the best for the Bluegrass. You could go lightweight to medium weight. I don't know about heavyweight. I think that could be bulky and comfortable. But you know, a nice light cotton lawn, even a quilting cotton might be good. And then a little bit more medium weight would be your denims, your cotton twill, your linen rayon blend, chambray, sisaka, all those types of fabrics like that are going to be amazing. Now, why didn't I mention any drapey fabrics? Because you don't really need drape for the design. I think it would make everything more difficult. The placket, the collar, everything would just take a lot longer if you use the drapey fabric. And princess seams with drapey fabrics don't tend to look that amazing, in my opinion. So I'm not saying you can't use something drapey, but if you did, I would go something a little bit more medium weight, like a rayon twill or a tencel twill. You need quite a bit of fusible interfacing, collar pieces, cuff pieces, tower plackets, button plackets, so a fair bit of that. And I used a lot of buttons. I would say I used about 20 because I like mine closer together. That's personal preference, but you need a fair amount of buttons. Whenever you see buttons mentioned, of course you can use snaps, and I think snaps are really appropriate for this design. I just have these ugly plastic snaps that would have looked very bad with my dress, so I rarely ever use snaps. I just prefer traditional and using buttons. Sizing from extra small to 5X is a standard bust option and the full bust option. Measure your high bust and your full bust. If it's 4 inches or more, use the full bust option. Now the difference with this one, because of the princess seams and the design, you don't get extra ease at the waist if you use the full bust option. You just get the ease at the bust because then it tapers all the same here. And that's how it fits the skirt pieces. Other designs that don't have bodice seams usually give you 2 inches extra at the bust and the waist and the hips. Not in this case, it's just the bust. So make sure you're happy, and if you need a larger size for your waist, you can blend out to a larger size at the waist. If you look at the ease around the bust, you have 4 inches of positive ease. At the waist, it's around 2¼ 2½, depends on the size. And then at the hips, about 4. So it's not fitted, but it's not loose either. I wouldn't wear garments underneath my dress. I would just wear my undergarments and that would be enough. I was happy with all of these numbers. I didn't need more ease or less ease than that. I was super, super happy. For my personal fitting, I chose a size large, which is my size right now, standard bust, because I just have a 3-inch difference here. I did do some fitting adjustments. I measured my pattern first, my bodice, and figured out I needed some things, and I did them on the pattern. And then I made a non-wearable test garment to confirm. So what I know I needed was to lengthen that bodice because I measured it short for me, for my body. I'm 5'8" also. I'm a little bit taller, so sometimes I do need to lengthen bodices for Love Notions. For other brands, sometimes I don't need to. You know, everyone has their own block. So I needed to lengthen my bodice by 3/4 inch. I did that above the cut line of the bodice so that at the waist, the circumference would be the same and it would fit the skirt in the exact same way. So that was easy. Center front, side front, all the pieces, 3/4 inch, and that was okay for me. The other thing, the curve of the princess seam, I measured it. It was going to be too high for me. My bust point is lower. So measuring the fullest part of the curve of the princess seam and where it was going to land, I figured out from measuring that it was 1½ inches too high for me. What happens if you just sew it like that? You get all this excess volume up here, up higher, so you get a whole bunch of bunching. And then where your actual bust is, it's going to be super, super fitted because the princess seam is already tapering into the waist. So bringing that curve down to the right place was super, super important for me. And I did that before even doing my wearable test garment. I do have content around this. I'll leave you links below in the description box with a video that shows you how to lower the bust height on a princess seam and a dart. That is something useful that I always check with every pattern because that's very personal. You know, you can have the same circumference as other people, but your vertical proportions where your heights are can be very different and it can really affect the fit. So that was it basically. Those were all the adjustments I did. Lower my bust height, add length to the bodice, add length to the sleeve, 3/4 inch. Very simple adjustments, didn't take me much time to do, and I was able to confirm that with my non-wearable test garment. Test garments, I'm going to show you mine. It's pretty horrendous. It was meant to give me information about fit. It was never meant to be wearable, and I actually used curtain fabric. I bought these curtains a long time ago and I had to hem them. And so I had a whole bunch left and I chucked in a closet somewhere and I found the fabric, very structured, woven. So it was perfect for this. So check this out. I've just sewn one sleeve. I didn't sew the tower placket. I did sew the cuff. I wanted to make sure the length was okay. I wanted to check the shoulder fit right here. The collar and collar stand, I did a very messy job. And then I have my princess seams right here, my bodice seam. I didn't sew the placket, I just folded it back, and this was actually the hem of the curtain, so that shortened everything. And I have my skirt right here. So this was very, very useful for me to figure out everything, button placements, pocket placements. So man, it served me for many purposes, and I'm glad I did it before jumping into my denim. It's really hard for me to find really nice denim, and I actually did find some that is not too heavy. And so I didn't want to waste fabric getting something that wasn't going to fit me right. Imagine I just made it as is, and then you can't lengthen a too short bodice. Once it's too short, it's too short. That would have happened to me. So I couldn't have fixed that princess seam properly either had I not confirmed everything over here. So I recommend that if you have some fabric lying around, make yourself something quick and easy. You know, you don't have to go all in with all the details. I didn't sew the pockets over here either. Now, days have been hectic for me. There's only so many hours I have available like everyone else. Sometimes the 24 hours a day is just not enough. And so for this episode, I'm focusing on the shirt dress. You're going to see a lot of the sewing, a lot of it. And before the release sale is over, I'm going to show you the next two versions I'm half working on that I wasn't able to have for this episode. The next episode will be a little bit more creative with my fabric choices and the features that I'm sewing, so it won't be exactly the shirt dress that you see today. You'll still get a lot of information that's going to be useful for you. Now remember, if you're sewing the shirt, it's easier because you don't have the skirt portion. All you have to do is finish sewing the side seams all the way down and you skip the pockets and the skirt and everything. So if you just want to make a shirt, all the information here is going to be enough. It's going to be even more than enough. I'm even going to include the yoke. What you're not going to see in this tutorial is the collar and collar stand. I have a whole video on this channel showing you how to do it. I do it the same way all the time. This is how the thumbnail looks. Also, the tower placket, I have a whole video in great detail about how to do it with another Love Notions pattern that uses the same technique. So it would be the same thing. This one's just a little longer, a little wider, but the actual technique would be exactly the same. So I'm not going to be repeating things I have already filmed a great detail about. So have a look at that. But all the rest you'll see and it'll be super helpful. This is the pocket entrance on one of the fronts. There's going to be a pocket bag right there. I don't want it to stretch out over time, so I'm going to use this stabilizing tape. It's fusible, and I'm going to fuse it right here along these edges. I'm not fusing it right along the edge, a little further away, so that when I catch it with a 3/8 seam allowance, the stay tape is going to be there. I've already done the same with the other side. So now this is super safe. I'm not going to have gaping pocket entrances. These are all the little pieces that need interfacing. Pocket flap, tower placket, collar pieces. For the collar pieces, it's just one layer. So I've got the top layer interface, the bottom layer isn't, but I'm going to cut them out at the same time. This is the cuff for the shirt and the placket. All block fusing, all pieces are slightly larger than what I need. They've already been interfaced. And now when I trim, they're going to turn out super accurate. Anything that might have happened with the glue or the interfacing has already happened. And this is a very accurate way to interface. So I'm just going to take my time to trim away all the excess and I'll have all my pieces interfaced. For the bluegrass dress, there's also a shirt version, but this one has a separate bodice. This is the back, it's cut on the fold, side back. You can see princess seams front and back. The front right here, the side front. There are marks to help you match up the fullest points of the princess seams there. Pockets that are going to go on the front, two of them, pocket flaps right here. I've got two pairs because there's two pockets. Over here, I have an interfaced layer and a non-interfaced layer right there. Same as for the collar pieces, collar stand, collar. The layers you see on the top are interfaced. The ones on the bottom are not interfaced. This is the button placket for the dress. It's super long. I've just got it folded here, but it would go from here and continue once you've sewn on the skirt all the way down. Here are the pieces for the long sleeve. And over here, we have double notch, which means this is the back part of the sleeve. This is where we have the line as a reference for the tower placket. And down here, we have two little dots. This is the piece for the tower placket. I've got two of them. They are interfaced. And here are my two cuffs interfaced as well. These are the separate skirt pieces that are going to be sewn onto the bodice. This is the back. It's cut on the fold over here. There is a waster that will match the princess seams from the back. This is the front. This is the pocket opening that you saw me stabilize with fusible stay tape. This is the pocket bag. This is going to match that shape right there perfectly. I made that out of a quilting cotton in a matching color. And this is the pocket piece that is going to cover everything and complete the hip area right there. There's going to be a collar here, so I really don't want this neckline to stretch out. And there's quite a few steps before we get to the collar. So I'm stay stitching like I do in all my woven tops. From the shoulder into the center for both the two front pieces. And then for the back, which is on the fold, I'm going to sew from the shoulder into the center, flip the fabric, and from the shoulder into the center so it gets nice and symmetrical. I have already spent some time pinning my princess seams for the back and the front. Very easy to do. The front side and the center front have a notch that you match up, and then everything is perfect 1-to-1. I'm sewing the standard bust option. And I don't think it's difficult to sew a curve when the seam allowance is 3/8 like it is here. I think it's okay, just go slowly. I like sewing with the concave curve on the top and the convex curve on the bottom because the bottom one is the one that's more curved and the feed dogs can help you ease that in. This is another presser foot. This has an L on it. It's also a type of blind hem presser foot but different. When you move this, it moves this edge in or out so you can actually get whatever seam allowance you want, and it's really helpful. I've set it here to about 1/8 of an inch. I've done some guide stitching for my patch pockets. I changed the bobbin thread so I can actually see them, and when I'm at the iron, I'll be able to press nicely in by 3/8 on these areas here. On the top, we're going to press in by 1 inch, but I also have to get the edges serged. Pocket flaps, I have already sewn them together. One is interfaced, one isn't. Sew them at 3/8 right here, and then I just have to flip them. I've put my pockets, serged them, folded them in. I've got them ready to go. Because I have a test garment, I'm able to test there. So I've got mine on. Don't mind the fabric. It's horrible. It was never meant to be wearable, but I'm happy with the fit I got with this non-wearable test. And I'm putting the pockets there, fiddling until I'm happy. Once I'm happy, I know where to position these pockets on my real garment. Here are my cute little flaps flipped and pressed. Here you can see one is interfaced, one isn't. I'm going to top stitch around this edge, just on the edge, just decorative really, just to match what I've done with the patch pockets. Once that's done, I'm going to serge the raw edge. You don't need to flip this or have this one clean, just the serging is going to do for how we're going to sew this on. Here's one front patch pocket on. Here are the flaps. I have serged the top so it's nice and neat. I've written a W, that means the wrong side of the pocket. This is the layer that's not interfaced. This is the layer that's interfaced nice and smooth. So we're going to take one, doesn't matter which one, and put the right side together with the shirt. So you should see that W there. And this serged edge is going to align right there on top of the pocket. You can see that they're the same width. And now we're going to sew from here to there. I'm going to use the edge of my presser foot as a guide because I can't see the metal plate underneath because the whole shirt is in the way. That's how I know I'm going to get a neat result. Pretty much 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. We're going to fold the flap forward like this. That's how it's going to look. And now with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, I'm going to top stitch that flap. I'm going to increase the stitch length a little bit because there's a few layers here. One thing I didn't mention, if you want to sew a functional buttonhole, you should do that first when you have your flaps free, because I'm not going to do that. I'm not even sure I'm going to put a button on there. I just left it. But that's it. It's all really neat. It's all very nice. Love how it turned out. Bodice is assembled, pockets and all, and now we can sew the shoulder seams over here. So I'm going to do that off camera. It's very simple, sew and serge. I'm also going to top stitch on the edge, pushing the seam allowance towards the back. Let's pretend these shoulder seams were sewn. After those were sewn, that's when you would top stitch on the yoke. I'm not doing the yoke with this version, but I will show you that detail on another version where I am going to do that. Here are the yoke pieces up closer. I've got 2 layers here. Actually, they're right on top of each other and I cut them out both at the same time. I've got one layer from my denim and the other layer is a super lightweight cotton shirting from one of my husband's old shirts. way lighter than the denim, and I want it like that so it's less bulky. So now that we have them together, the way that you finish the yoke is super easy. First, before I pin them together, I did stay stitch this area, which is going to be part of the neckline. So that's all stay stitched from here into the middle, same as on the other side. So they're right sides together. This section is going to be the back section of the yoke. This over here is going to be on the front part of the shirt. So the shoulder seams of the shirt are around this area, but there's no shoulder seams on the yoke. So this is armhole right here, this is neckline. What we want to sew is this little small section like a roof here, and this one here, and then this one over here. So the top sections and the bottom sections, leaving the armholes just the same and the neckline just the same. We're going to sew them with 3/8, and then we're going to flip them the other way around, and that's how we're going to overlay this yoke onto the shirt. And then top stitch. So to start a seam and finish it so I can have an intersection of seams, I don't like pivoting. I think you get a nice crispier point without pivoting. That's one side, it's a small little roof. That's the front side. This is the other front side, same thing. Now this is the regular yoke. You'll find another option that has even more curves on these areas, but the technique is the same. You put them right sides together and you sew them, and then you flip. Okay, that's the front done, and now we sew the back part. Remember, this is the armhole, we want to leave that raw. Okay, there's the yoke sewn, these little sections from the front part, and this bigger section from the back. Remember, there's another yoke that has other points like this, but the technique is the same. Now I'm going to use this neckline area because it's the largest to flip this around. I'm going to fold these seam allowances onto themselves right there in a point. Hold that together, put my hands in through this neckline area because it's the largest part to have access from. I'm going to hold those right there and flip, and you get a nice little point right here. And I'm going to do the same over here. Fold them onto themselves here on the point, hold the seam allowances together firmly, and then flip. Nice little point. So now we just have to fiddle with this to make it look super neat. There we have it. There is the yoke. I know a lot of people would like to have a contrasting yoke. I'm not one of those people. I think for my denim shirt, I want it to be classic. And if I put any color blocking on it or other prints, it will limit the way I can style it. So this is going to be on the inside. It's not going to be seen. What's going to be seen is this. I'm not gatekeeping any of my secrets. I don't want this contrast fabric to be seen. So from here, I'm rolling it in a tiny little bit, like a 1/16 of an inch to the inside, and I'm just hand basting it there so that when I press this, this is going to force this fabric to be on the inside and not be seen right on the edge. What I don't want is this to be exactly on the edge because it might be seen, and that's not the idea, at least for how I want my shirt to look. Another way to do this would be understitching, but that would be too complex with the shapes here and it would maybe stretch it out of shape. So hand basting it like that while doing the rolling of the seam with your hand is going to accomplish the same thing. And these are cotton fabrics. They're going to press beautifully. So that's how it's going to look on this side. No one's going to know that there's another contrast fabric under there. And I'm going to do the same for here and for this side here. It will just take me about 2 minutes to do. And then I'll head over to the iron and press. Okay, basic construction for the shirt has been done. Same process of the princess seams that you saw for the shirt dress. It's just that these go all the way down to the hem. So the front is done. I've actually got the placket done as well. The shoulder seams, it's all extended here. Make sure it's all nice and flat. And now we take our yoke and just overlay. We're going to match up the neckline with the neckline over here. They're going to have the same shape. You can see it's going to match the armhole, and then this is going to be on the front right here, and this is going to be on the back. Then we're going to just top stitch. I've got my helpful presser foot, and I'm going to start top stitching this front area here. And I'm just going to edge stitch once. You know, you could do 2 rows, but I'm keeping my top stitching discreet. We're going through 3 layers of fabric here, so I've lengthened my stitch length just a tad. You can see lots of hand basting here, and I did that while keeping everything flat as I showed you on the table. I didn't move it from there, and that's how I hand basted it down to keep it in place. Now I'm just going to do some edge stitching around the raw armhole here just to keep it in place. Now I'm pivoting, and I'm going to start top stitching the back area of the yoke. Now again, I'm sewing along the raw edge that's part of the armhole just to keep it in place. And now I'm finishing up with the other front. At this point, my neckline is ready to receive the collar and collar stand. Keep going with construction. I'm going to sew the side seams. The back skirt has waist darts that I'm going to sew and get out of the way. I always start from the tip of the dart. I don't backstitch. I leave long thread so I can knot it by hand and then go to the widest part. And it gives me the neatest result. Something else I did before doing this was serge all the side seams and even the bottom so that I'm ready for the hem later. These darts are going to match the princess seams from the back bodice. Knot that by hand. And you can see how nice this ends right here. Here are the front pieces of the skirt. This is the pocket entrance. What I've got here is the pocket bag that follows the same shape right here. I've got them right sides together and now we're going to sew them. At the sewing machine, you can see I've got the denim layer on the top, the one that's stabilized with that fusible stay tape because that's the most stable area. Underneath, the quilting cotton. Sew the 3/8 seam allowance, careful with the little corner and pivot nicely. Okay, here is one of the pockets. That's the seam sewn right there. Easier to see on this side. And the only snip we need to do is into this corner. The rest we don't need to snip because it's just straight edges. So I'm going to go quite close to there, but not through the seam, of course. Then we're going to extend this like this, and we're going to understitch. So keeping the seam allowance underneath the printed fabric, the pocket bag, we're going to sew on the edge right here, and then on this little section as well. And that's going to keep this fully inside without it being seen. I'm going to stop right before that corner and then start again right here. I'm not sewing through the corner. After understitching, I flipped it all to the inside, all very neat. I've given it a press and a quick hand base to avoid it twisting while I sew. And now I'm going to top stitch using my 1/4 inch presser foot. Okay, this is the wrong side of the skirt. Here is our piece that has already been sewn on. The pocket entrance has been finished. And now we take this piece that follows the same curve and the same shape right here. And all we have to do is align them and then sew this right here. Sew and serge. And then I'm going to serge all of this that hasn't been serged right here and baste it in place so that it fixes to the hip area. Same as over here. And then this can act as one piece. I don't really think the order matters in this case. So I'm serging both pocket pieces together along the curve. I pin them nicely. They have exactly the same shape and size. So that's all fine. After serging it, then I'm going to head over to the sewing machine and sew it with the sewing machine. Now that I've done the seam with the sewing machine, now I'm going to fix the pocket in place in the side seam so it can act as one piece right here. So I'm just going to give it a quick basting stitch along the edge and then along the top here where these pieces overlap. There, that little one right there. And now the pocket is fixed in place. This is how you put your hand inside right here. Lovely pocket bag inside. Now that the pockets are done and the skirt is ready to be sewn onto the bodice, that is the next step. I've brought out my bodice again. I've got everything wrong size up like this. And now this is going to go like that. They should match 1-to-1. Now, in essence, I could sew on the back skirt to the back bodice, but I don't really need to do that. It's not an urgent thing. We do need the seam sewn so that we can sort out the placket because the placket will go over that seam once it's already done. And then once the placket is done, we can do the collar and the collar stand. So I would prioritize those steps, these front bodice seams, sewing the placket, sewing the collar, and then I can return and sew the back bodice to the back skirt. You know, we don't need that excess weight. There's my seam. I still have to serge it, but let me show you something. You can see how they match up. So make sure you have a pin there so that is sort of continuous down like that. I'm also doing a guide stitch on one of the long ends of the placket for both of them mirrored so I can press that in nicely at the iron. Now that I've got the bodice and the skirt together, I can sew on the placket. I've got the placket right sides together, the raw edge with the raw edge of the shirt. The folded edge you can see is on the other side ready for later. There is the bodice seam there, and I'll just keep going all the way down. After the placket is on, I'm going to extend it, keep the seam allowance underneath the placket, and now understitch. This is going to keep the placket on the inside of the garment. This is essentially like a placket type facing. I'm not going to do it all the way down. I'm going to stop about an inch above because I want this area free of understitching. After doing that understitching, I want to finish the bottom. So I'm going to fold this back, right sides together, and I'm going to use whatever hem allowance I'm going to plan to use to sew across there. So I'm planning to use 5/8 for my hem allowance. So that's what I'm going to sew across. That's why I didn't want the understitching to go all the way down. And we can trim a lot of this away, and then we can flip this. So there it is, nice and neat here at the bottom, and the hem is going to come from behind the button placket right there. I'm going to use a small hem because I want my dress as long as possible, and also the hem is slightly curved, so I think that 5/8 hem is going to be okay. Now I'm going to head over to the iron, press this, give it a quick hand baste, and then we're going to edge stitch this closed. From the right side, you're just going to have one row of top stitching right here. Now I'm top stitching down the placket. I'm doing it from the wrong side because it's just easier for me to see the fold neatly, and plus it's going to look the same on the other side. Once I'm done with both of these plackets, then my neckline is okay and I can start sewing on the collar and collar stand. This is my bluegrass dress. I think it's amazing. I've never had a denim dress like this. I've just had denim things like shirts. I don't even have a denim shirt right now. I've just got denim jackets and jeans. But yeah, this is my collar and collar stand right here. So nice. I've just top stitched it on the bottom. And here is my collar. I never actually put a buttonhole here in this part. I'm never going to button it all the way up. That's very uncomfortable for me, so I leave it. This is the placket. It's cut separately, so it's like a facing folded to the inside. I've got a lot of buttonholes. They are 2 inches apart, and I wanted one right at the waist. So right below the waist seam, I have a buttonhole right there. Lovely pockets and pocket flap. I didn't sew a buttonhole there. I don't need this to be functional. So I just sewed the button right through, and it's more decorative than anything. And right behind here are the princess seams that I have top stitched. Just on the edge right there for both sides. I have the same thing on the back, princess seams, the waist seam, and that matches the dart right there. This princess seam on the front matches the pocket. So you can see the seam goes there, and here is the pocket. I've used the quilting cotton on the inside just because it's pretty. Here is the long sleeve with the tower placket. So much fun to do. And let me tell you how easy it is to do it with denim, because you press it and it's so structured. I didn't need to hand baste. I just used pins and the iron, and it turned out amazing. After the placket, there's 2 little dots that you can see there. They're not pleats, they're dots. I think that was really nice. And I've got 2 buttons on my cuff. What's missing from this shirt is the yoke, which is optional, and I decided not to do the yoke with this one. But you'll see it in future versions that I make in the next couple of days. So my back is plain, no yoke. That's how it looks like on the inside. Seam allowance is pressed to the center. The seam allowance is pressed up. The seam allowance here goes in the same direction as the dart so that it makes sense. Over here, that's the inside of the front. There's the placket, the princess seam, and you can see the outline of where the pocket was top stitched right there. The waist seam that matches the pocket over here. So nice. And then my hem was done by hand because I wanted it to look really nice. So I did it by hand. Never mind doing that. It took me a little while extra at the end. But you know, when you're almost done, what's a couple of more minutes? Absolutely love how this turned out. Now for styling, this is a sort of outfit on its own. There's lots of ways that you can add accessories to make this look different. So you'll see it on its own, and then with two toppers. The styles of the toppers you're not expecting, so let's see it on. Styled four ways, just trying to showcase the dress the most. This is my bluegrass dress from Love Notions. Mine is a size large with a standard bust option. I've made it out of 100% cotton denim, medium weight. I made mine with all the detail, the long sleeve and the placket, but remember you can always make a sleeveless shirt dress if you want. So you can make a shirt. Here you can see the waist seam and the slanted pocket opening. I think it's really nice. The waist sits at my waist after lengthening the bodice by 3/4 of an inch. At the back, you can see there are princess seams and waist studs on the skirt. I can also wear it with a belt if I wanted to. There's not a lot of ease around the waist, so I think the optional sash or the belt would always be nice if you want to, but loose would look okay as well. It won't look shapeless. So I'm showing you both options here. The belt looks nice. I think I would wear it on occasion. Usually when I wear a jacket, I would wear a belt, but usually I would just use it without. I'm really happy with the fit of this dress. My sleeves are 3/4 of an inch longer. The pockets are fun to sew and very easy as well. On the inside, you can use a contrasting fabric that no one will see. So I've used a nice quilting cotton that matches there. It's all very stable. The long sleeves have a tower placket that was so easy to sew with denim. And then there is the collar and collar stand, classic feature of a shirt dress, the placket on the inside. Lots of buttons. I did not put a button on the top because I'll never wear it closed all the way. And here are my pocket flaps and patch pockets on both sides, the princess seams. I had to lower the bust point of the front princess seam by 1.5 inches, no changes to the back. I think this is personal fitting that you should expect to do because everyone's bust height is at a different height. Love the classic features of this shirt dress. You can wear it without the belt, wear it with the belt. It's going to be amazing. I love the fit of the shoulders and the sleeves. It's all very comfortable, and wearing it on its own is amazing. But I'm going to show it to you styled with two toppers and another more casual way. So let's see. I bet you weren't expecting to see a cape over it. I think it's perfect. I live in Brazil. My winter can get very mild, and this would be enough for me to go out in the winter when it gets cold, around the low 60s. So this is super nice. The cape is comfortable. It leaves my sleeves free. I don't think I'd want to wear a long sleeve denim dress underneath a regular jacket. I think it would feel bulky, but this is perfect. It shows the features of the sleeves, the tower placket, and it just gives you enough warmth on your back, on your upper arms, and I think this looks really nice. I think I'd always want to wear a belt if I wear a topper, just to highlight the waist a little bit more and just to add something to the outfit. You know, accessories are always welcome, especially belts and bags and sunglasses, because that's as far as I'll go. And I love this winter outfit for me, although this dress does not have to be for winter, and this is so cool. Let me tell you, I feel amazing with my cape here and my denim dress. Here is another cape option. Love this one because it's got more colors on it. I've brought some red boots and a red belt, red bag. Denim's always going to go with any color, but I think this particular combination is really, really nice. I feel really great. Another cape that leaves the sleeves free of the denim dress to just shine and provide the warmth without getting in the way or feeling bulky under a regular jacket with sleeves. The belt is always going to be there. I think this looks amazing. And even though I'm wearing a topper, you can still really see all the details of the beautiful dress. So can't wait to wear these two outfits out. I'm headed into autumn and winter now, and this is going to be amazing. Absolutely love it. But I've sort of dressed up these a little bit. Let's see one super laid back, super casual. The styling is always going to be very simple when I get dressed. This time, no belt, nothing like that. Just a very nice pair of leather sneakers. These sneakers, so comfortable and so stylish. Beige tones with white, I could walk all day in this one. Got a nice fun bag that can fit a lot of things and a little beige scarf. This would be an amazing outfit for a casual day out where I could feel really nice because I've got an amazing dress on. I wouldn't wear a belt on a day where I'm gonna be out and about because I would feel it and it would start getting uncomfortable after a while. So just like this, I feel is okay. Remember, you have the sash option. If you like that, you could use that as well, but I didn't sew the sash this time. I love how this dress turned out. It's a dream dress. I can't wait to wear it. It's going to be amazing. The denim, even though I've washed it twice and everything, is still quite stiff, but it's going to turn out amazing over time with wear. It's going to soften up, and that's what I like about denim. Even though I know at the beginning it's not like, it's amazing on, I know it's going to be like that and it's going to last me for so long. Love it. I didn't do the sash. I also didn't do button loops over here, which I could have added as a hack because I didn't want to commit to always wanting to wear a belt or a sash. So I just left it like that. And if I want to wear a belt someday, I'll just wear a belt. I usually only wear belts when I have a jacket or a topper. Otherwise, I would just wear it on its own. I don't think it's too boxy. It's fine to wear without the sash or the belt, in my opinion. So I'm very, very happy. I hope this was helpful. If you decide to get this pattern, I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. It's going to be an amazing shirt or a shirt dress, whatever you make. This is amazing. I've got shirts in the works. They're on the sewing machine. You'll see them soon. Don't forget the Love Notion sale finishes tonight, 40% off. If you use my ambassador code, you get 45% off. So you still have a few hours to browse if you want. Have an amazing weekend.